So this is the top that I'm making for this pattern today, just to give you guys an idea of what it looks like. And to make this top, you're going to need a 3.75 millimeter crochet hook. It's an F. I use my clover hook. I really love my clover hook. The kinds with the little handles on them make it a lot easier, especially when you're using a smaller hook. It's just easier on your hands and better for your hand health to have something with some kind of handle on it. And this green top I made with Bralette Softy Baby Cotton. I really like this yarn, but I also did use a second yarn, a different kind of yarn as well to test it out. And I used Yarn Bee Fresh Haven from Hobby Lobby. It's tencel, it's not cotton. The Bralette Baby Softy is like a 50% cotton, 50% acrylic, and then the other one is 100% tencel, the Yarn Bee from Hobby Lobby. The Bralette Baby Softy is a weight 3 yarn, and the Yarn Bee from Hobby Lobby is actually a weight 4, but it feels like a weight 3. I would say that the Yarn Bee is like a lightweight 4, and then the Bralette Baby Softy is a little bit denser of a weight 3, so it's a little bit heavier weight 3. So something that's around a 3 to 4, a light 4, or a thicker 3 would be perfect for this if you don't have access to either of these two yarns. I do have some yarn substitutes listed in the materials section of the pattern if you guys want to take a look at that. But let's get on with the pattern. I'm going to work mine up in a mini version. You are going to chain however many chains that you need for your size. I have 20 chained right here, just so you guys have an idea. And the medium is chained in a 30 chains. So I'm 2/3 of that size. So starting on the first stitch, you're going to skip the first chain. You're going to skip your first chain and single crochet into the second chain. To single crochet, you insert your hook, pull your loop up, yarn over, pull through both loops, and you are going to do that all the way down the row. So this is what your first row will look like. Yours will be a little bit longer, and even more so depending on what size you make. And right here, we're going to chain 1 and turn. And it says to single crochet back loop only all the way down the row. When I work with back loop only stitches, I like to stitch through both loops. And normally when you guys crochet, you always crochet through both loops. So this little V that's on the edge of your stitch right here is what you'd go through. In the first one, I like to do like a normal single crochet because it just firms up the ends of the top and the edges and make sure they're straight. But for the rest of the stitches, we're going to go in the back loop only. So to go through the back loop, normally we would go under both of these. And then this one would be the front loop. And then if you go between the two loops, sorry, my working yarn's getting in the way. If you go between the two loops and out one, that's the back loop. So it's the, in this V, it would be this second loop back here, this side. That is our second loop. So that's the one we're gonna go under. And just work up a regular single crochet just like that. Go right between that V of those stitches, pull up a loop, and you're gonna work that stitch all the way down to the very end. And then when I get to the very end of the last stitch, I again like to do it in both loops. So this is what rows 1 and 2 will look like. Again, we're going to chain 1, turn your work, and then single crochet through both loops on the first stitch, and then we're going to kind of tilt it up and go through the back loop only up this whole row. And you're going to repeat this same row where you chain one, turn, single crochet, back loop only, all the way up the row for however many rows your size says so. I think a small is like 16 and a medium is 20, and I think a large and an extra large might be 20 as well. If you need to increase the size to fit you if you are larger than an extra large, I will show you how to do that. It's easier if you do it in the front. I think that'll provide a better fit for you. So don't worry about adding those extra rows now. We'll add those in the pattern later. So for right now, if you're larger than an extra large, just do the same amount of rows as the extra large suggest. And then through both loops at the very end. So this is the same pattern repeat you're going to do for the entire back panel, and then we're going to go until we get to this point where we begin to increase on the top. I'm going to show you guys how to do that row next. So when we increase for this pattern, we're going to chain one and turn. Just like normal, we're going to single crochet through both loops in the first stitch, and then again we're going to single crochet in the back loop only all the way up the row. So what's different about this row is that when you get to the last stitch, normally I would have you go through both loops. We're going to continue to go just in the back loop for the last stitch, and then instead of chaining one, we're going to chain two. We're going to chain two at the end of the row on an increase. We're going to turn our work, and then we are going to skip the first chain right here, and we're going to single crochet into the second chain from the hook. So that second chain we're going to single crochet in, and that's where our increase is. That's where we add that extra stitch, is into that second chain. And then you're going to back loop only single crochet all the way down the row. And then when you get to the end of this row, since we did the increase on this end we do not do an increase, so we're just going to do our normal through both loops single crochet, chain one, turn our work, do another single crochet right into that first stitch, and then back loop only all the way up. And if you're wondering why, when you look at this top, we have all the increases, it goes up here, but on the bottom it remains flat. So that's why we only do the increase on one end. And then I will show you one more time what you do at the end of an increase row. And then after that, I will show you how we do our decrease rows, since that is the next step on the top. Don't forget, we go through the back loop only in the last stitch on the increase end. So we're going to go just in this back loop, single crochet. We're going to chain two, turn, skip the first chain, and single crochet into the second chain. And then back loop, single crochet all the way down the whole row. And then again, you're going to single crochet both loops. And then next, I will show you guys how we begin to do this decrease on the front right here. So we are now doing the decrease. We did, I showed you guys a couple flat rows right here we did the increase, and then now we're going back down. So starting from the bottom of our top, the flat portion, we're going to chain 1 and turn, single crochet through both loops, in this first stitch, and then continue the single crochet back loop only all the way up. And then this one, we're going to do just the back loop again, just the back loop. And we're at the top. And then right here is where we're going to do our decrease. We're going to chain 1, turn our work, and instead of crocheting into this first stitch like we normally would right here, we're going to skip that one and single crochet into this second stitch. Skip the first one, single crochet into the second. And we're going to do the back loop only single crochet in that second stitch. And skipping that stitch is how we decrease our row count by 1 stitch and begin that like descent in the front of the top. Single crochet through both loops. And then I will show you guys this decrease one more time. Chain 1, turn, single crochet through both loops, and then single crochet back loop only. And then we're going to single crochet in the last stitch, back loop only single crochet, and make sure that we don't miss any. And then you can see right here, you can now see the decrease a little bit better, where it was a little bit harder to see the row before. We're going to chain 1, turn, we're going to skip the first double crochet, or sorry, single crochet, and then single crochet back loop only into the second stitch on that row. We're skipping the first one, going into the second stitch. And then single crochet back loop only all the way down the row. And then again, last stitch through both loops. And that shows you how to do your straight row, increase, decrease. Now we're going to go back to an increase row, back to one more decrease row, and then one more flat row. And once you do that, the next step of the process is going to be creating this little tie back here and the straps. So right now I'm going to show you how to make this tie that goes up the back. It laces up the back and then just ties in a bow. You can tie it in a knot if you like. I'm using a 10mm hook. You can honestly use any size hook for these chains as you want. I've used so many size hooks. I've even used this giant hook right here. This is like a 15.75mm hook. I personally like using a big hook because it makes it a little bit quicker to do it versus using the little hook. But if you like the way the little hook looks, definitely don't be afraid to use it. Something to keep in mind if you are using a bigger hook like I am, that you need to keep your tension very loose because you have to be able to go back into those stitches with that hook. Normally you're using a thicker yarn with a thicker hook and it kind of helps keep your tension where it needs to be, but using such a thin yarn with such a big hook, you have to be mindful to keep your stitches very loose. I mean, this is the same hook size and relatively the same yarn size I use for my drifter vest, so that's why I'm pretty quick at it because I've done it a lot. Something to keep in mind, the length of how much tie you want will vary depending on how tightly or loosely the back of your tank is tied. If you have it where you want it stretched to the maximum for better support, your tie on the back might need to be a little bit longer to compensate because you're going to have a little bit wider of an opening if you size down to make it fit. And then, like I said, if it's smaller, you are going to want a shorter length of a tie just to ensure that you don't have like a bunch of extra tie chilling on the back. So I will have like a estimated length that you should probably do. And then you guys can gauge from that, but you can always adjust it, always just chain it out, or measure yourself if you want. Use your top, kind of lay it out and do this zigzag pattern down of how you'd want to lace it up and do your length that way. Either way you decide to do it, I will put measurements so that you can have a general idea, because everyone likes to tie it up differently. And if we're all using different hook sizes, the chain count would be irrelevant anyways. So I'm going to slip stitch actually back down this chain. That's what gives it a little bit more of like a thickness to it. And I honestly just insert my hook, pull my loop through, and then pull it through the other loop. And just slip stitch right down the entire row. If you get to the very end and you lace up your top and you find that your stitches are way too long, you just undo like 10 slip stitches from your chains, and then you can untie the knot at the end of your chain, and that will begin to unpull out the other end of the chain. You just have to keep pulling out the end strand over and over again to shorten it if you feel like it's too long. But you just slip stitch all the way down, and that's basically how you do the entire strap. Another reason I like to use a bigger hook and do this kind of strap is it gives it it's a little bit thicker, and then it also gives like a little bit more stretch, which I kind of like in my straps. So if you want to use a big hook like me, I definitely encourage you to at least try it, but otherwise go ahead and use a small hook and it really won't make that much of a difference. Okay, to attach straps for this top, you're going to want to do them at the peaks of the top. So as you can see, this strap is attached at the very peak of the top. And then I did another strap on this one. And this one's a little bit thicker because you can make these straps as thick or as thin as you want if you need more support and you don't want them digging in your shoulders, as it's just making them a little bit wider. But people who are smaller busted or who are wearing a bra underneath and don't need a lot of support, you can get away with these thinner straps. I really like the way the thinner straps look. But yeah, I'll show you guys how to do that real quick. So this is my piece that I showed all the demos for you guys, and this is my peak right here. So you're gonna attach on. To attach the strap, what I like to do is tie a slip knot. Put that slip knot on my hook, pull it tight, and then I'm going to insert my hook right in here, and I'm going to do just to the right of the peak of this top. It doesn't necessarily matter where you go, but try and get through 2 loops. Don't just like hook under one single one like this. Like, don't hook under one. You want to try and get it into a spot where you can get under 2 loops right here so that it's extra secure for your top. So once you do that, you're going to pull up a loop, and then you're going to make it into a slip stitch. You're just going to pull it through, chain 2, and then we're going to half double crochet just slightly to the left of that peak. And if you wanted to make the thinner straps like I did for the green one, this one you're just going to chain 2 and half double crochet on top of the others half double crochet. And then if you want to make a little bit wider straps like the white one, you're going to do a third half double crochet, or sorry, second half double crochet. You're going to chain 2, turn. You're going to half double crochet in those 2 half double crochets from the row before, chain 2, and turn. If you're doing the thinner straps, you would just be doing 1 half double crochet, chain 2, turn, 1 half double crochet, chain 2, turn. And then if you wanted to make these even thicker yet, I will show you guys how to do that as well. So that's just an example of what that width of strap would look like. So if you already know and you want your strap to be, let's say 4 stitches wide, you're going to make your slip knot. And instead of attaching just to the right of this, you're gonna attach a little bit farther over so that you have enough to do 2 stitches over here. You're going to slip stitch, chain 2, and then wiggle your hook through there, half double crochet, half double crochet, half double crochet, and then half double crochet. So now you have 4 right at the peak of this top. Chain 2 and turn. And then now you're going to be doing 4 half double crochets in each half double crochet from the row before. We're not going to half double crochet into the chains, into the turning chains. Chain 2, turn, and then you're going to continue to do this. So you might notice on mine that it looks a bit flat up here from my half double crochets, but you guys are going to have more increase and decrease rows. So while this top portion right here may look a little flat, your top is still going to have like a peak right here, because this would be decreasing down like that. So don't worry about that. If you want a little bit more full support strap, I definitely suggest that. And like I mentioned in the pattern, you are going to want to make 1 strap per the suggested strap length for this pattern, and then you're going to want to try it on. So you want to try it on with just 1 strap, and trying it on will also help you decide where you want to connect this strap on the back. I suggest for connecting these straps, I'll show you on the one that's a little bit longer, is I suggest doing it where you have your right side of your strap and the right side of your pattern together, the back of your top, and then either whip stitch right here, single crochet, or slip stitch across and attach it. That's how I did mine. I did mine with a slip stitch, and then I tied it off. And then that way, if you did it right sides together, when you pull your strap up, the seam for your strap will be on the inside of your top and no one will see it. So I hope that helped you be able to alter your strap to whatever fits your body type or your preference best. I think both this width and this width are cute, and I do think that this one will be really cute as well.